Celtics wraps on TSN.
The guys who we've seen step on the field for the Toronto Argonauts this year, they've been pretty bad. There's no other way to put it.
I was throwing the ball to the wrong team.
McLeod Bethel Thompson had his moments, but not enough of them.
The Argos have literally run out of ways to lose games.
Things continue to spiral downhill for these Argos.
The Argos back-to-back bad seasons after winning the Grey Cup. You really do wonder where they go from here.
They bring back Mike Pinball Clemens.
Going into next year, we expect to have a competitive product on the field.
Hi again, I'm Rod Smith, and this is another edition of CFL 2020, the show that's previewing a season that may not happen. We still don't officially know. But we still have thoughts about all 9 teams, where they stand if they were to play, and our choices for the all-time rosters. Today, we're talking about the Toronto Argonauts. Here's Matthew Shinetti with more on the expectations in TO.
Although the Toronto Argonauts have won 2 Grey Cups over the past 7 seasons, this team, according to General Manager Pinball Clemens, is inconsistent, either one that is championship caliber or one that is rooted at the bottom of the CFL. That's why over this offseason, Clemens tried to give new head coach Ryan Dinwiddie a fresh locker room full of Canadian talent from the greater Toronto area. That's why in free agency, he went out and got Juwan Brescacin and Philip Blake and Chris Aki, all from the surrounding area. And in the draft, they selected number 2 overall Mississauga native Dejon Brissett, because both Dinwiddie and Clemens want to give this locker room a sense of hometown pride and accountability. As for the quarterback position, it gets a little tricky because McLeod Bethel Thompson was re-signed, and he says he has the talent to be the Argo starter from day one. However, Clemens did sign Matt Nichols, and despite the fact that Nichols is coming off of season-ending shoulder surgery, he thinks that he can take the reins and be the starter, and the Argos to this point seem keen to give Nichols the role. Because beyond locker room culture, the first priority for these Toronto Argonauts is to finally find a consistent replacement for Ricky Ray. Rod?
All right, thank you, Matthew. Let's talk more about this now with the virtual panel of Henry Burris, Davis Sanchez, Matt Dunnigan, Milt Stiegel. Guys, McLeod Bethel Thompson has tried to be the next guy for the Argos after Ricky Ray. So did James Franklin. It really hasn't worked out. In comes Matt Nichols. Now, you know, McLeod Bethel Thompson, Matty, wants to make this a duel for the number 1 job. Is there any doubt in your mind that Matt Nichols should be the Argos' number 1 quarterback?
No doubt whatsoever, Rod. This is a different echelon of quarterback. Guy's been there, done that for 2 organizations and proved his worth. Matt Nichols brings them a solidified number 1 quarterback that has been there, done that. I applaud McLeod Bethel Thompson for trying to learn this game on the fly, with kind of the cupboard being a little bare. And I think that Toronto Argonauts have certainly added some pieces over the offseason, but Matt Nichols is a different type of quarterback that the Toronto Argonauts haven't seen in a couple of years now.
Structure. I believe with Ryan Dinwiddie coming in from Calgary, he definitely brings in that winning DNA and pedigree that he learned from Dave Dickinson and John Huffnagel. But along with the head coach, definitely comes a new quarterback. And in this case, you're bringing Matt Nichols, a guy who was a part of the Grey Cup champions last year. He helped turn everything around in Winnipeg and get them to the point where they could become a championship team by taking care of the football and making good decisions. I mean, last year, Toronto under Macbeth was they only moved the sticks 41% of the time on second down. And so when you know you got a guy who can make good decisions, take good care of the football, and Matt Nichols, especially with all the new talent they brought in around him, that offense definitely is going to be headed in the right direction.
What's the system? What's the system they're coming from, Henry? Where's he coming from? Calgary Stampeders. What do they do most vertical passing game? Which one of those quarterbacks has a stronger arm? And that is Macbeth, and he's more athletic. So when they look at these 2 guys in camp and they watch the battle and they see what they wanted to do, what they want to bring from Calgary over to Toronto, they're going to look and they're going to say, okay, Matt Nichols, you're still our starting quarterback. It should be Macbeth coming out if they want to do what Calgary did and bring that over to Toronto.
Well, I think going in, he should be the starter, but should Macbeth give an opportunity to be the starter? Without a doubt. You look at how Matt Nichols was brought there. He was brought there basically because there was no other free agent quarterback that could possibly be a starter. You think about Mazzola had already signed back with Hamilton. Ottawa had their guy. Winnipeg had their guy. So Toronto, they had no choice but to bring Matt Nichols in. But you look at Macbeth, what he did last year, and I know sometimes numbers can be deceiving. He did lead the CFL in passing touchdowns. He was third in passing yards, just right behind Trevor Harris, 3 yards behind Trevor Harris. So this man deserves the opportunity to be the starter. He's more athletic, and you see the more successful quarterbacks in professional football now are the more athletic ones. So I definitely believe he should deserve a shot to be the starting quarterback for the Toronto Argonauts.
Well, Matt Nichols, we should point out, was 7-2 with Winnipeg in first place when he went down with an injury against the BC Lions about a year ago. And, of course, he ended up getting a Grey Cup ring. But talk about bittersweet, what might have been for Nichols as he could only watch. What might have been in Week 9 in the CFL, we'll never know in 2020. But we do know what happened in 2019. Here's a look at the top 5 plays from a year ago.
Takes that on the run, cuts it back. Look at this. He's over midfield. He might be gone again. Janarian Grant, no flags. He's doubled out. There's a new kick returner in town.
Mike Riley's got loads of time and unloading here. Sideline. Oh, what a catch. Brian Burnham did that.
That's just Brian Burnham being Brian Burnham.
Down to Shakir Ryan, who's got lots of speed. In the year of the return, here goes Ryan. Goodbye, Ryan. Shakir's going to score. This year has been crazy on returns. 17th kick return for a touchdown. For Montreal. There's a blow. Pipkin was rocked, picked up, and Earl Kine is going to score on a hellacious hit. Frankie Williams getting some blocks. Frankie Williams getting some room. Frankie Williams say goodbye. Another kick return for a touchdown. The year of the incredible return. 18 kick returns for touchdowns.
Do you don't want to wait around till Sunday? I'll give you something, make you shake.
After the Bombers won the Grey Cup with Zach Collaros at QB, They signed him and let Nichols leave as a free agent. Now he's ready to help turn the Argonauts around. Here he is with Matthew Shinetti.
Matt Nichols, right now it would be week 8 or 9, and you would either be on the road or you would be playing football, but you're at home. I see the Girl Dad t-shirt. How much have you enjoyed being with your daughters, being with your family, and also you've had the opportunity to earn your grad degree through Gonzaga. So what benefits have you seen in time at home?
Yeah, I mean, really just trying to make the best of a crazy situation. I think that everyone's trying to do their best right now, and for us, it's the first time in over a decade that my wife and I, and especially never for my kids, where we have a summer without football. I mean, we've been going to Canada every year in April or May, and spending our entire summers up there, where it's hard to go out and enjoy the lake and enjoy long weekends and do all these things that it seems like normal people do. And so we're taking the opportunity to do some lake trips, and I'm going to take my kids to gymnastics and swim lessons, and kind of spend all day every day with them. And we homeschooled them at the end of the school year, and so I think it's just extra time with the family is kind of how we're handling it.
How was that shoulder feeling? Has the time off also helped your shoulder as well?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be lying if I didn't say that it's been helpful for me. I mean, I think that I was pushing it very hard, to be ready to go, and I think that was definitely on track to be ready to go on time. But now there's no decision that had to be made, or me going out there. Maybe, if I don't feel 100% yet, there's going to be none of that, and so that ultimately has helped me physically, which. I hate to say that something like this has been helpful because it's such a devastating thing that's happening. But, overall for me and my health, I've been able to, at a certain point, I was able to just kind of back off, the rehab process and just kind of allow it to take a more natural course.
Nichols was just one of many free agents signed by the Argos in the offseason. The majority came on defense. And as Matthew alluded to at the top of the show, the majority are Canadian, including several players from the Toronto area. More on that and one position in particular from the guys inside the booth, Dwayne Ford and Glenn Suter.
Ryan Dinwiddie's playing and coaching backgrounds are on the offensive side of the ball, but when it came to the Argos' push to upgrade their Canadian talent this offseason, they certainly didn't skimp on defense.
No, Canadian talent looks good. Let's start with one of their best, in Bo Lukambo, the linebacker on the defensive side. In the last 4 years, Dwayne, he's played on 6 different teams, including 2 stops with the BC Lions and playing full-time last year with the Montreal Alouettes. So he needs to find a home, and maybe this Argo opportunity is exactly that. Because when you look at the criteria for linebackers, the first thing that jumps out at you is that this is the position that sets the tone in the physicality department for your football team. So to remind fans about whether or not Bo Lukambo likes to hit, let's take a look at that Montreal-BC game again last year. So obviously he loves to hit, but I want to take another look at it and slow it down because it takes a special talent to make that type of play. It takes great timing, athleticism. The off-season strength training comes into play here, and then, of course, there's that want-to factor. Bo Lukambo is poised to be a perennial all-star, Dwayne.
Yeah, and Bo Lukambo was one of 4 Canadian linebackers signed by the Argos during free agency this offseason. And on offense, the receiving corps got a similar offseason boost in Canadian talent with the additions of veteran Natey Adjei, first-round pick Dejon Brissett, potentially former NFLer TJ Jones, and the guy that I'm most intrigued by, Juwan Breskison. Now, to me, Breskison is a natural big play guy, and not in the traditional sense, in that he doesn't rely on speed to create separation. He uses his size, elevates, going above smaller defenders to get the football. You see great body control and strong hands, catching the ball in his hands away from the body to create some highlight reel plays. Now, over the last 2 seasons, Breskison has averaged 16 yards a catch, with 10 of his 46 receptions in that time going for over 30 yards. I see him following a similar career trajectory as his former Calgary teammate Lamar Durant, who led all Canadians in receiving yards last year.
Well, you mentioned Ryan Dinwiddie off the top, Dwayne, and he learned from the best when it comes to understanding the importance of the Canadian ratio, because John Hufnagel in Calgary is the gold standard in that regard.
Ches, how do you evaluate this team from one year to the next?
free agency, they did a great job. And we discussed the Canadian talent, but more importantly, proven Canadian talent. And you look at the guys on the defensive side of the ball, Bo Locumbo, Chris Aki, even Calhoun. These guys can all play multiple positions, which gives this team flexibility and the staff flexibility, which is so important. There's questions about this offensive line, and how are these questions going to be answered? Well, it could be on the defensive side of the ball with the flexibility and a ratio swap.
Yeah, and Davis, I look at it, I'm just going to give you a list here. You got Chris Aki, Nataya J, Darian Bladdock, Philip Blake, Jawan Bruskin, Arlen Coquin. You got Fabian Foote, Paul Kozacek, Boseko Lacombo. You got Denzel Radford, Nick Shorthill, and Donza Wright. Those are 12 Canadians. And not only the defensive side of the ball, Jez, but on special teams. And you need depth on special teams. You need layers of depth. And you're only as good as your Canadian talent in the Canadian Football League. John Murphy, Ryan Dinwiddie, Mike Pinball Clemens, they went to work during this offseason. That was definitely a focus of theirs, to try to get more depth all around both sides of the football. And I think more importantly, special teams.
Well, for me, I want to look at what they did off the field. Of course, what they did on the field is most important. And Davis and Matt, you alluded to that. But let's talk about what they did off the field. You start with head coach Ryan Dinwiddie, who's been coaching for 6 years now. Started off in Montreal, went to Calgary. Now he's the head coach of the Toronto Argonauts. And I said when I was playing with Ryan a couple of years in Winnipeg that he was destined to be a coach. The way he approached the game was not like most players. It was like a coach. He was well detailed. When he was a backup for Kevin Glenn, the way he helped Kevin Glenn mature his game, I knew Ryan Dinwiddie was destined to be a coach. But the most important factor may be Pinball Clemens. This is the most important Toronto Argonaut. He's been involved with this organization since 1989. And over the last decade, before last year when he stepped in, he was more behind the scenes. Well, they felt they need to get him in front of the scenes. And now he is the GM / motivational speaker, and he's going to help this team get over that hump.
Well, Milt, we all know when it comes to winning football, you got to win the trenches. In Toronto, they did not do that last year. So Pinball is going to give lots of motivational speaking to that team because, guys, they gave the most rushing yards of any team in the entire CFL, over 30 points per game. And then to lose a guy like Cleon Lang in free agency, that was huge. And so for me, to protect those linebackers, just as he did in Winnipeg with Adam Bighill, you know, guys, I'm sending a shout out to my man, the real Drake, Mr. Drake Nevis, to bring him over from Winnipeg, Grey Cup champion, to protect those linebackers, to help create one of the best defenses that we've seen in modern times, and especially with the way they dominated last season, especially into the playoffs, shutting down that up-tempo Hamilton offense that definitely had so many weapons. They dominated because of number 92 in the middle. So for them to get him into Toronto to help lead that defense and to help take those younger defensive players underneath his wing and show them and guide them on how to be a consummate professional and just like Milt mentioned, to be detailed oriented. I mean, to me, that was one of the best signings in the entire free agency that occurred.
Coming up, it's the oldest CFL team and one of the oldest North American pro teams of all time. We'll unveil the all-time Argos roster when we come back. In Week 9, we continue with the year of the return. Janarian Grant racked up 306 all-purpose yards, striking pay dirt twice in a win over Calgary. It was an historic feat. No Bomber ever had 2 touchdown returns in a single game.
And Grant goes the 50, daylight, and he's going to outrun Ron Beamer. Down inside the 15. Welcome to Winnipeg, Janarian Grant.
It is the franchise with the most history, not only in the CFL, but among all North American pro sports teams. The Toronto Argonauts go back to the late 1800s. Forgive us if we don't do the same now. The Argos' all-time roster certainly has some great names from the past, but with 7 championships spread out over each of the past 4 decades, there was plenty to choose from in modern-day history as well. The winningest coach in franchise history, Bob Obilovich, took the helm in 1982 and quickly turned the Argos' fortunes around, steering the Argonauts to a Grey Cup berth in his first year and a championship in his second. The 2-time Coach of the Year was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2015. In his last stop of an incredible 8-year CFL career, Doug Flutie made the most of his 2 seasons in Double Blue. Named Most Outstanding Player for a 5th and 6th time, Flutie led the Argos to consecutive Grey Cup victories, garnering Most Valuable Player accolades in both title games. Local boy Dan Ferroni enjoyed 11 stellar seasons with Toronto, a 5-time league All-Star who was twice named the East Division's Outstanding Offensive Lineman. Ferroni was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2013. Former Dallas Cowboy Chris Schultz was a 2-time league All-Star. Norm Stoneberg was a staple at center for 13 years. With 204, Danny Nicolak played the most games of any Argo old lineman, and Hall of Famer Pierre Vercheval was a key member of the 96 and 97 championship squads. The most popular player in team history, Michael Pinball Clemens, was a multi-dimensional force on the field and an incredible ambassador off of it. Second in rushing yards and first in receiving yards by a running back, Pinball also owns virtually every Argo returning record. Franchise rushing leader Dick Shadow was an Eastern All-Star 8 times and is one of only 4 Argos to have their number retired. In 1997, Daryl Mookie Mitchell burst onto the scene with 1,500 yards, 17 touchdowns, and captured the Outstanding Rookie Award. A 3-time league All-Star and member of the Hall of Fame, Mookie holds the CFL record with 160 receptions in a season. Darrell K. Smith had a franchise-high 20 TDs in 1990. Terry Greer holds team records for receptions and yards in a game, as well as receiving yards in a season. And Paul Massotti is the greatest Canadian receiver in Argo history. With Pinball making the team at running back, that opens up a well-deserved spot for receiver returner Chad Owens, the 2010 Most Outstanding Special Teams Player and 2012 Most Outstanding Player. Owens owns the CFL record for most all-purpose yards in a single season. Lance Chomick is the team's all-time points leader, and punter Noel Prefontaine was a 9-time Eastern All-Star. Rodney Harding headlines a fearsome defensive line. A relentless pass rusher, Harding holds team sack records with 92 overall and 5 in a single game. A Grey Cup winner in 1991, he was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2016. Ed Hercules Harrington was a 3-time league All-Star. Hall of Famer Jim Corrigal was the outstanding defensive player in 1975. And teammate Jim Stillwagon was an All-Star in 3 of his 5 seasons with the Argos. Mike O'Shea enjoyed a decorated career in Double Blue. The team's career tackles leader, he was the outstanding Canadian in 1999, won 3 Grey Cups as the Argos middle linebacker, and in 2017 was inducted into the Hall of Fame. With 222, Don Moen is Toronto's all-time leader in games played, and 3-time league All-Star and current Argos linebacking coach Kevin Iben rounds out this all-Canadian linebacking core. The Argonaut family lost a legend in 2020 with the passing of all-time Argo defensive back Marv Luster, an Eastern All-Star in 7 straight seasons and a League All-Star 6 times. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1990. Adrian Smith and Byron Parker hold CFL records for, respectively, most interception return yards in a season and most career interception return touchdowns. Reggie Pleasant is the Argos' all-time interception king with 47, and current Ticat head coach Orlando Steinhauer was a League All-Star 4 times while in Toronto. When you're around for nearly 150 years, you get extra foundational players. Hall of Famers Royal Copeland and Joe Kroll, a.k.a. the Gold Dust Twins, keyed the Argos dynasty of the 1940s. Jim Roundtree was one of the CFL's greatest two-way players. Bill Simons was the first Argo to both rush for 1,000 yards and capture league MVP honors. Star running back Ulysses Curtis made history as the franchise's first black player. And Condredge Holloway was the 1982 MOP, and a year later helped the Double Blue to its first championship in 31 years. Once again, this is an organization that just oozes history well over 100 years. I think of the teams, the 83 team that ended the drought. Matt Dunnigan's 91 Argos that beat Calgary when you had Rocket Ismail and a young Pinball Clement, Schultze on that squad as well. Henry, since you joined the CFL, though, and you look at the names on that team, what name stands out to you?
You know, of course, I'm going to look at that quarterback position. And, you know, with Doug Flutie, he's one of the all-time greats to ever play in the CFL. But, guys, whoever put this together, I got to send my all-time shove-it moment to this one. Because, guys, let's talk about 1991 with the resurgence of the Toronto Argonauts, and they brought up Rocket Ismail. There was a quarterback in 1991 who was all beat up and battered going into that Grey Cup final. I think he's a guy we might know here on the show is by the name of Matt Dunnigan. You know, he had the little tail in the back there, the hair hanging out, the mullet and everything going on. But for him to step up and to be courageous like that and help lead that Argo team to a Grey Cup champion. Also, Damon Allen in 2004 to help lead the Argo. To me, there's so many great quarterbacks that deserve to be on there. Doug Flutie had one of the greatest 2-year stints with teams ever. To me, that was one of the greatest all-time teams in those 2 years. Me as a rookie saw that from afar, but for me personally, I would have put another quarterback on there, including Condredge Holloway, even Ricky Ray, with how many great things that he's done for the Argos, winning 2 Grey Cups here in this past decade. To me, I thought there were so many better opportunities to put other quarterbacks there. But to me, of course, Doug, he's still one of the all-time greats.
I look at that offensive line, and I love to see Dan Ferrone on there and Chris Schultz, our buddy. But a guy that played alongside them on the right side of the O-line was a guy by the name of Kelvin Prunster, who was a mainstay for that offensive line, and he was a beast for 10 years. And just a shout out to Kelvin. He should be there in my books. But another guy that I really have an affinity for in the Toronto Argonauts history is a running back by the name of Billy Simons. And Billy's on there as well as a foundational player, but I don't know why he didn't crack that running back position because he was a beast back in the day. Billy Simons, hats off to you.
I love that cheat code getting Kevin Iben in there as a current player or current Argo, because he is. He's on the coaching staff. If you look, for the fans out there, you look at that will linebacker position and just take a minute and think about all the great players in your franchise. A lot of times you love that will linebacker because that's the guy on the defense that has a chance to make the most plays. He's usually a free guy. Kevin Iben could cover, he could blitz. He's a college safety, and as a Canadian, he had a unique skill set that I think is underappreciated. Kevin Iben, I'm glad the cheat code got Iben on that team because he was an impact player.
So they didn't have a player on the current team good enough to be on there, basically. That's what they were saying. And something that people don't know, most people don't know, Chris Schultz was the first Canadian-born football player to be drafted in the NFL. In 1983, he went on to play 3 years with the Dallas Cowboys. After finishing his career with the Dallas Cowboys, he came up to the CFL and spent 9 illustrious years with the Toronto Argonauts, winning the 1991 Grey Cup along with Matt Dunnigan and a couple other guys. But the thing I want to mention also, once I first started with the CFL on TSN panel, there were 3 guys that really helped me get over that hump. One of the guys is our producer, who we can see and you can't see, thank God, because he's not the prettiest guy, Jamie Rydell. Another one of our producers, Tony Darchie, and of course, Chris Schultz. These 3 guys really allowed me to luster and be the CFL TSN panel I am right now. So I want to congratulate Chris on his induction onto this team and also thank him for all he did for me in my career being on the panel.
That's our show for this week. One way or the other, we are running out of time to preview CFL 2020. But regardless, we will be back at least one more time to talk about the one team we haven't talked about yet, the BC Lions. That's next week. Thanks for watching.